Yo, yo, how you going? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is the GreelTime podcast number 3, the Q&A catch-up. Forgive my stuttering. I'm going to really try and not stutter much during this one. I think I was a bit baked for the last one with Dundee. Shout outs again to Illegal Merch for merchandise. But yeah, for this one, we're just going to get into some questions that I just hit up on Facebook and try and catch up with some music that has been released in the last week. I know I spent the last couple of days just having a rest, and I know at least a good 38 hours off the internet. Got back on and saw there was so much shit. I've just been trying to catch up with it all. But yeah, today I checked. What did I watch? I watched Complete dropped a new track. Gonna log on here, get onto these questions. My bad for pausing out for a second. Yeah, Complete dropped a new track today. It was absolutely fucking amazing. The Vapor of Darkness. Make sure you get on YouTube and Facebook and check that out. His new album will be coming out soon. I've got a track on there that I'm featuring with a bit of Belief. I'm really looking forward to that drop. All right, so what got me into hip hop? When I was really young, my earliest memories of getting into hip hop was probably just watching Rage. My mother was really never into music. I grew up in a suburb in southern Tasmania where my mother was religious, so generally I don't have any memories of her having a tape player or a CD player in the early years. I remember first kind of coming across, music on Rage on Saturday mornings. That was like my first influence from it all. Um, you know, I'm just trying to think of the first hip hop. I remember early Beastie Boys. Um, yeah, Beastie Boys I got into. I can't remember what exact age, but my mum bought us a computer when I was probably about, have to be like maybe maybe 9 or 10. But then Napster was the first download program that I got, and once I got on a Napster, I started actually like downloading a lot of music, and I would have had to be I was under the age of 10 because I was still living on Roslyn Avenue on Blackman's Bay. So, maybe 9 or 10, I really started getting into music. And Beastie Boys was probably some of my first hip hop. Then, other than that, I remember I got into, and I kind of like regret saying this, but I remember getting into Wu Tang through Limp Bizkit because Fred Durst had that track with Method Man. And once I got into that, it was. It was on from there. I got on the Napster. I started researching Wu Tang Clan, Method Man, and then stemmed from there. I just kind of searched for tracks and collabs that Method Man had with other artists, and then researched who they were. And I'm just trying to think when I got on to Eminem. That was definitely a massive pivotal moment in my life. Was when I discovered Eminem, and I would have had to been grade 5. So it would have been about 10. It makes sense. It was 99. So it was about 99 um I got into hip hop, and I related to Eminem so much. Like I was already listening to like Beastie Boys. I remember Intergalactic as one of my earliest memories of kind of like a lot of rapping. But so I got into Eminem at that point, and Napster was my shit. I just fucking researched everything I could. I just so many random shit. I'm just trying to think from back then. It was like you could even just download like the Mario rap, and there was just so many tracks that weren't they never had artists or titles. They were just random names and random songs. And I guess relating to that was probably like the first time I kind of got into hip hop. And I didn't get on the Aussie hip hop probably until I was about 13 or 14. And I saw someone just ask me the question, "Did I ever listen to Hunter?" So this is kind of how I got into Aussie hip hop. I was I can't remember exactly how old I was, but I was walking through Salamanca Lawns, and I came across a fella that was an old school graffiti writer from Perth, and he'd been living in Tassie since about 2000. And I came across him, and he was sitting there with his boombox and his dog, and they were kicking back and listening to hip hop, and I was just a curious, kid, so I strolled on up and sat down next to him, and I asked what he was listening to, and I think he was listening to Biz Markie at the time. Yeah, that's exactly why. Yeah, I knew Biz Markie because at that point I was into beatboxing. So I'm just trying to think. What I got into beatboxing at some point. It was when I met a guy called Lewis Higgins in town in Hobart City in the mall, and he was walking around wearing a Wu-Tang jersey. He had bleached hair, and he was beatboxing the little section from Men in Black 2, the scene where Will Smith walks into the post office and Biz Markie acts in the movie, and they like have a little beatbox battle. And I remember meeting that guy, and he kind of got me into a lot of beatboxing and got me into Razel. And I remember this was before Joel Turner and the whole kind of Australian Idol thing, because when that happened, I'd been beatboxing for a year or two anyway, and then I was stoked when that happened. That kind of got me pumped. So that's where I really kind of got into beatboxing at an early age. I remember when I was 10, I moved from Roslyn Avenue down to the other side of Blackman's Bay, so I used to have to walk to school, and that's when I started really practicing. Was in this like half-hour walk to and from school, just beatboxing to myself, and yeah, and so anyway, yeah, I was sitting at the lawns, excuse me, in Salamanca, and High Five was this graph writer, the guy in the park with the boombox and his dog, and he's good mates with Hunter, and he was a part of SBX crew, and he put me on to, I think it was like, I think he just told me about the mp3.com to check them out. So I got on there and I looked them up, and I came across Hunter and Disaster on there. I remember coming across like Oceanography. There was a track off the Done Deal album, but this was before Done Deal actually got released. A few of those tracks were just up on the net as like posse tracks, and they weren't mastered properly. I'm pretty sure I had them downloaded, and I remember listening to the album once it was released, and they were actually a bit different. So, um, yeah, so Hunter probably was one of the first Australian hip hop artists that I first listened to. Other than that, there was Art of War. They had a lot of tracks on mp3.com. I remember hearing like Reflections, Train of Thought, Industry Joke. That was a good track. I remember that from that era. That was where I came across a lot of Tassie hip hop as well, was on mp3.com. I came across Topsky and Rumman and D Dare with Open Mic Nights, and the Tasmaniacs also had a couple tracks up there. Criteria was doing his thing. Crixus. There was a few people that had, Tassie hip hop songs on mp3.com, so that was probably where I started to get more into that. But the thing is, when it came to kind of like the difference between USA hip hop and Aussie hip hop, for me, I was born in America, and my father's American. He's from Boston, and I came to Australia when I was about 2. I know I came to Australia a bit younger than that, but I went back and forth as a very young child between Australia and America a few times, and then ended up settling in Tassie when I was about 2, and I was raised in Tassie, and when I when I was 14. I went back to America for a little while, and kind of got more of a dose of the American life again. But my father's always been American. Whenever he speaks to me on the phone, he's like, "Hey Andrew," like I've always had that American side, but I grew up in Australia, like and I feel that I feel Australian. I don't really feel American in that sense. But yeah, when I kind of got back to Australia, oh no, going to America is kind of what made me appreciate Australian hip hop more. When I was a young kid, I was sitting there listening to Eminem and listening to Wu Tang and Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, just everything that you could kind of like get at the time. I remember Bone Thugs, a lot of different artists like that, and but having my American side of the family, and when I was a kid, I quite resented that my dad was over in America. I wasn't a happy kid about it, so I was kind of like dirty on America, like deep down. I was like, "Fuck America, my dad's there," And I think when I was young, as soon as I discovered Aussie hip hop, I really kind of identified with it so much more. And one thing that has always kind of really shut me over the years is like Aussie rappers that try and be American, and I think it's because like I was born in America, my dad's America, I live that like I have that in my life, you know what I mean? And when I see people who don't have that in their life trying to imitate that, it really does like deep down somewhat grind my gears, and I kind of put it down to this like childhood resentment of my American family because. Oh yeah, like there was a lot of disconnection between my parents, and I ended up staying in Tassie and growing up here. And my dad wasn't there in America, and I'd watch TV, and it was always stuff in America, and I was like, "Fuck America." So yeah, that's when I really kind of like adapted and kind of identified myself with Australian hip hop and listened to that a lot more. And then it was a couple years after that is when the Nosebleed section kind of really flooded. Every party I'd go to, people were listening to that. Hilltop Woods, everyone's like, "Oh, you heard of Aussie hip hop?" And even at that point, as a teenager, I was a bit jaded. Like, I've been fucking listening to Aussie hip hop for fucking ages. You cunts don't know shit. So it was yeah, that's where I got into that, I guess. Um, yeah, definitely the first Australian MCs I heard was would have been a lot of SBX crew, Train of Thought, which was like level headed, Slats, and can't remember the other guy from Train of Thought. Eslevs is with them now, and they are full tight odds. But back then there was another guy that's not a part of it now. I'm just trying to think. Clinic. Clinic was another fucking. He was a beast. If anyone can remember Clinic, he was from Brisbane. He did a track with Thurston Howe, I'm pretty sure. He was an awesome fucking Aussie rapper. I used to listen to him and bump his shit hard. Uh, if you can find some of his shit, check it out. But I know he did a track recently on it was like a big collaboration EP, a producer released. I'm pretty sure on it. I'm pretty sure it had like Brad Strutt and a few other guys like that, and Clinic was on there, and I noticed that. So yeah. Next question. Thanks for everyone tuning in. How you going out there? Who made THC TV? Well, I guess I kind of made THC TV in the sense of the YouTube channel, and a lot of people around me have helped. Like I had a guy up in Brisbane who helped with the logo, and Nerve and the Syntax Junkies, and they helped out a lot. And there's been a lot of participation, and that's what it's all about for me. But THC, in the sense of Tassie Hip Hop Collective, I think was first labeled by Medusa. It was over 10 years ago now, but it was just kind of like a way to kind of it was a small tight knit community of people, you know what I mean, and that was just a label to bring everyone together. And when I got back to Tassie, I just really wanted to bring that back and also network with other people between Tassie and the mainland. I've got such a good network of friends and amazing artists across the country. There's one thing that's always got to me about, especially coming from America and having that experience, was how cut off Tassie was from the rest of the world. So THC for me is kind of like representing down here, as well as getting us out there, as well as like getting other people on board. Like I've got a lot of people that watch THC over in Perth and WA, which is fucking amazing. And so there's guys in Sydney that we've put on, like Husky Ben. I put him on THC, and I'm pretty sure he's got the most viewed video on it. And he picked up a lot of fans from across the whole country through this platform that was originally about building Tassie artists, but it's been great. It's been, I don't really have any exact rules with it. I kind of do as we do and just kind of build it. And yeah, it's been awesome. But yeah, I guess I'm the one that kind of brought it back with the help of a lot of people. Shane Kemp has been a massive help. All the Kingo boys have really helped me. They've enabled me to do this. Hanging out in the suburb where I grew up back in Tassie it's been really good. I've been working really hard for the last over a year, and it's turned into like it's nature to me now. Like I don't think twice. I come down here to do this shit and work on different stuff. We're getting ready to announce the night shift pre-order for the new EP from Wombat and Nerve. Um, yeah, it's flat out. It is flat out at the moment. Top five influential Aussie rappers. Hmm. Top five. I don't know because the thing is, there's a lot of different like crews in Tassie. There wasn't many, especially in the older generation. There wasn't many individuals. You know what I mean? Like Hilltop Hoods, like Funkors. Um, but for me, a lot of influential people have been the guys that I've really connected with. Reason is a massive influential character. Like I first did my first ever support show for anyone from the mainland was for Reason and Checkmate. And Reason, I met him there. He gave me a lot of respect, and I think I battled that night, and I didn't win. I think Vocal won the fucking battle that night. Battled Dundee and a few other people. It was at the Brisbane Hotel years ago, but yeah, like Reason gave me a lot of advice then, and over the years I've caught up with him. Even when I was living in Melbourne, Reason asked me to do his backups for a show up in Darwin, and he organised a battle between me and MC from up in Darwin called Chaotic, and I went up there with Reason. We chilled in Darwin for a few days. We went around, and he's a teacher as well, so he showed me a lot of different stuff and taught me a lot of shit about just even Darwin and the history of it, and yeah, so he's a massive influential person for me. Another guy, Paddy Few, is a really influential person to me. Like, um, he does a lot of work. He's connected with a lot of people. He's a real cunt. He's about it. Yeah, he's another guy that I met in the kind of early years before I started really traveling around the country, and he's always, kind of giving me good advice and being a solid person that I could talk to. Even now, like whenever I have a chat with him, it's at least for an hour or two on the phone, and it's hard to get off the phone with him because he's such a legend. But yeah, some other influential people. Medusa was a massive influence to me. Like, uh, when I was, 16 and I started, so I went through high school and coming back from America and I was beatboxing a lot and I started hanging around. I was like living between shelters when I got back, and I was crashing in a car park for a while, and then I started making a lot more friends through kind of freestyling in the parks and smoking weed in the parks around Hobart, and making friends that'll let me stay on their couch, and so that's where I kind of went from there, I guess. But yeah, at that point, I was still kind of like, just beatboxing, and building up with a lot of that scene is kind of what got me about the Hobart scene. And as soon as I really discovered the local Tassie scene, I was obsessed with it. I've always been really obsessed with everything to the point where I go on about it to where people don't even like it anymore. Ever since I was like really young, and when I was doing battles, like if you follow my shit for a while, you remember all the battle shit. Like man, I go on about shit. I suppose that's why I can do this podcast and dribble shit for half an hour. But yeah, I got fucking lost on what I was just talking about. Anyone remind me for a second? What inspired me to move from beatboxing to rhyming? Yeah, that's right, Medusa. It was yeah, I was at Hobart College and we started the crew. It was Paralytic Poets. I knew Rich O'D from Kingston, and we were, I was beatboxing while he was freestyling, and we started building that whole scene. And at the time, Medusa was running Slut Productions, which stood for Support Local Underground Talent. And yeah, I just thought that was the shit. I remember looking up to it so much, and I just loved what it was about. And at the time, I was beatboxing still with Lewis Higgins, and we were trying to do kind of like a show called Vocal Drummers, where both of him and I would like perform just a beatbox set. And it wasn't really going anywhere. Lewis was also a drummer, and he was in another band and doing some other shit. So I was kind of getting a bit like frustrated that I couldn't really go anywhere with it. If only I got a loop pedal back then and started really like going hard with the beatboxing, like I see Tom Thumb and those guys doing it, I would have got my head around it. But instead, I kind of went more to rapping and got involved with that. Hanging out with Rich OD was a massive part of getting me starting to rap. Like, yeah, you got me. He definitely got me to step out of my comfort zone, and Yeah, well, some of the first freestyles I did was impersonating people. I just like see other guys around me rapping, and because I was always beatboxing for the ciphers, I knew the rhythm and I knew how they rapped. I was used to their bars, and yeah, so I started impersonating people, spitting bars, and I guess that's how I kind of started freestyling. And yeah, and I think it was only a couple of months after that I started going into freestyle battles. I was obsessed with battles of supremacy and scribble jam. It was all like really catching up with me. But yeah, I think that was where I kind of made the transition. Really was hanging around George Street, beatboxing for so many ciphers, and after a while you just get bored of just beatboxing. So I ended up just chucking beats on and freestyling with my mates. Has there been any talks of an Australian Battle League champion? There's not really a champion. I suppose if Australia was able to kind of do their network together and have a unified sort of champion. But at the moment, they've got certain individual champions, like Real Talk has a champion, um, which is LJ. But other than that, there's not really like a nationwide Australian battle league. But Real Talk is, in many ways, Real Talk is the main league at the moment. Don't Flop Australia's dropped off really. They haven't really done shit in ages. It's yeah, Real Talk are kind of the guys holding it down. They've put on, really good international matchups. They keep bringing out quality performers, building a network and keeping it going between Australia and the rest of the world, which is what I do respect. But at the moment, when it comes to Australian champion, I think Dundee's the fucking champ at the moment. Like, it was really good having him on here last week, but his battle just dropped. If you get a chance, check out Scrambles for Money. Dundee versus Laurie. I'll post the comment. I'll post the fucking link to it now, fucking in the comments section. But make sure you watch that. Like, Dundee kills it. I'm, gonna spoil it for you, but Dundee absolutely smashes the cunt. He walks. Dundee went to South Africa, and walked into the middle of what looks like a fucking ghetto as underground joint, and yeah, he's just like Dunners kills it. Like there's no one else that can walk into a fucking place like that in South Africa and have his presence and delivery and just clown the cunt. He's so Australian. He's just like this fucking cunt. You know what I mean? Like no one else, and the whole crowd loses their shit. Dundee has like sold everyone on his character. It's fucking sick. I love it. I'm so proud. Some of the best shit I've ever fucking seen. So in my opinion, Dundee is the champion of Australia at the moment. Yeah, so that's all the questions I've got on Facebook. So what else can I fucking talk about? All right, so Complete, yeah, he dropped this new track, Vapor of Darkness, and if you haven't checked it out, make sure you go watch it. Other guys that I like during the last week, I filmed and recorded a song for Butter D. It's called Pocket Watch, and it's on my channel. Make sure you check that out. He's a young fella that I know. When I first met him, he was only like 16, and he came to a few of the underage shows that I put on in Hobart. Got up and went in the battles, and he was real nervous on stage. But I didn't see him for a while after than that, and then we got him. We got him involved in the THC cipher. It was in the first cipher, and he brought 32 bars, and I said to him, "Oh nah, um, fucking, you can only do 16." So he used the last 16 from his verse, and he did that in the cipher. And he said to me, "Oh, I really want to, get the full verse out there." And I said to him, eventually I'll help you film a clip, and we'll get it done, pump it out. So he came down last week, and we got that done. He's a dope motherfucker. I reckon he's got a lot of skill. He's humble. He's got his head around hip hop in the right way. Um, yeah. Young Tom asked me what my thoughts on Little Yachty, Little Uzi Vert, Little Pump, 21 Savage, Kodak Black, and Mumble Rap. See, my thoughts on Mumble Rap. See, I don't really pay attention to it, bro. Like, see, at the end of the day, when it comes to all this Mumble Rap and all these random trends of hip hop that keep going off in different directions, and I don't pay any attention to it, man. It's just negative bullshit. Like, it's yeah, I don't really like it. Obviously, if I did like it, I would be watching it and promoting it, but it doesn't float my boat, so I don't really give into it. I'm too busy with everything that I'm trying to do around here, like in Tassie and in the Australian scene. Um, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. They're like they're some people that love their shit and they're fucking dope as fuck. Like I don't really have any qualms with it. You know what I mean? But I'm too caught up in everything that I do like rather than other stuff that I don't like. But I feel that like regardless, any progression of music is good. You know what I mean? Evolution. Like if everyone just did the same fucking music forever, it'd be fucking shit. Really, like you know, Australian hip hop in many ways just got stuck in its ways, and people didn't like change or difference. It was now if anything, like everyone's cool with everything. Like I know SBS and Viceland did that little thing recently about how accents, in the Australian scene only supports Aussie accents, and which was a thing. You know what I mean? Like I remember, especially with like Weapon X and Ken Hell, they were hated on for their accents. It was just kind of how it was, but yeah, times have changed, and like I guess at the end of the day, if it's your authentic accent, that's what I'm about. Be yourself. You know what I mean? If you have to change your voice to really like try and make a product, unless you're doing it kind of on purpose. Like for me, like when Eminem did Relapse, I didn't mind it at all because it was fucking he was playing a sort of character in it. He wasn't trying to be, I don't know. He wasn't. He was obviously wasn't being like this is me. You got to be yourself. And if you're putting on a fake sort of thing just to fucking portray what you think is cool, I don't know what it. I don't know. I don't really get that. And for me, like artistry is about representing, true character and yeah, like what comes from your heart or what comes from your mind, and that's it. Be yourself. That's exactly it. Talking about getting lost with Medusa, yeah. No, he was definitely another. He was definitely a massive influential MC when it came to what I was doing. Like when I started doing the battles and I was freestyling in Hobart, he didn't battle anymore because he'd beat everyone that many times. That so he just hosted it instead, and that was kind of like my ambition was to originally battle him, and it never happened in a freestyle battle. And if you check out Taz battles, which I don't think is actually up, you can't even check it out, so I'm sorry for that. But fucking yeah, I battled Medusa and Taz battles, and that was kind of like it'd been a long time coming, and it was the first really kind of big solid match that we had in Taz battles when we were still doing it at the skate bowl in West Hobart. Um, and after that, I worked with him for a long time, and I don't work with him anymore, but that is what it is. And he was definitely still an influential person to me. A lot of the local guys in Tassie ended up probably being some of the most influential people to me, like Rowdy, Draz, Scourge, Vocal, Bexy. A lot of those guys, that was APC. Those guys all helped me with my first recording and were there for a lot of my first gigs. Were there when I was learning to freestyle, like vocal especially. I remember when I was chilling as a kid, I used to be too scared to freestyle in front of vocal, and over the years, like he helped me like gain confidence, and whenever we'd hit the piss, he was a pest. He'd fucking go hard and just freestyle at me relentlessly. So it was just kind of like a hard thing to fucking not do. It was just like slowly progress and build up with it. Shout outs to Psych MC. What advice would I give to someone who's struggling to put their pain down on the page? All right, so I guess like he said, also I can rap about almost anything, but when it comes to what I've been through, I close up. How do I push through that? Much love, bro. Like fucking. So like, there's still for me like there's a lot of shit that I haven't addressed in my writing in my life that I want to. I've got to get to. This is what the second album's about. I've got a few more boxes I need to tick with addressing personal shit in my life, but I understand exactly where you're coming from. And for me, like when I was rapping and starting to really get into it, it was just about being a sick cunt and fucking rapping about mad shit, fucking punchlines and bars and like and then the kind of battle, the whole kind of battle scene, the way that style kind of influenced me to be a bravado sort of rapper. So it was quite a long time before I actually started addressing shit. I do remember when I was like, um, do remember when I was like 18, I broke up with my missus, and I wrote like a breakup track, and I wrote what the tragedy brought when I was about 18, and I didn't release that properly until I was like 20, 23, I think. But yeah, that was when I started. Oh, that the kind of root of that song was one of my good mates was suffering with a lot of mental health issues, and I was kind of struggling to watch him go through that shit, and that was how I kind of dealt with that. But hanging out with guys like Rates, it really helped me start to learn how to address, the kind of inner demons when you try and get them out through music. And like Rates, for me, it was always about the goosebumps. Like he'd say to me, "Bro, it's all about the goosebumps," and he'd show me music that gave you goosebumps, and after a while, it's like I kind of, through that that emotion of inspiration when you get those goosebumps through an artist and listening to them and relating to them, and that's when you get the goosebumps, is when you relate, you know what I mean. And I find that, when you feel it and you can understand them, and you go when you feel those tingles that go down your back, and that's what this music release is about for me, in my hardest times, when I've kind of like, when I haven't absolutely lost my shit, I've gone for a walk and listened to music, and I can feel the stress like lifting away and floating away from my back with the tingles, just listening to music that I relate to, that makes me go, oh, fuck, I'm not alone, it's just kind of like, it's true. Yeah, that's the vibe that, I go for. And when I listen, so whenever I find artists that give me that, I listen to that all the time. I love invoking emotion from myself. When I listen to music, I feel like it's a constant thing that I need to try and do. Um, is get those goosebumps, and sometimes I do worry that I'll just sit there and listen to so much depressing music, but it's because I want to feel something. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a weird one, but yeah. So I guess as I kind of go further in writing and exploring what's around me and myself through music, it's something that I kind of am getting to as well, bro. I understand exactly how where you're coming from, so you just got to keep pushing. That's what I reckon. You got to keep pushing. Um, just force yourself, man. Like maybe one step at a time. Just take like a little bit. Um, take a little step. Like find something that addresses, so like a small but still personal fact that you feel more comfortable addressing, and maybe try and give that the best justice you can. And if you do that really well and get that out in some writing, and record it and film a little video, and once you get it out there and people see it and they can understand where you're coming from, and like can maybe understand a bit more of who you are through what you're trying to get out there, because at the end of the day, with all our demons, if you get it out there and you can maybe get rid of it, bro, but like if you find the right people to share it with and you're not dumping it on them, and they can help you get that monkey off your back and get it off your chest. Music's great for that, like I've had a lot of demons and shit that I couldn't say to people, that I've put into my music. And not I don't believe in like, um I know it's a hard one, man. Like I find it easier to put right about shit now than I do even talking to people about shit that really gets to me. You know what I mean? It's a funny one. Maybe because now I have been like quite comfortable with channeling my energy and channeling my emotions through it. But yeah, much love, bruv. I hope you fucking can push through it and start to get your shit out there, because there's nothing more rewarding. That's what I find through all this music. There's nothing more rewarding when you can get something off your chest and people understand it. You might still have to live with it, and you might truly never get that monkey off your back. But if people can understand it around you, and you don't feel so isolated or like lonely, and that's what this all is about for me. Who's my fave? Cursor, Complete, Sever, Omac, Daisy. They're all my faves. Cursor's a fucking sick cunt. I don't know if you guys have seen, but he's gonna be dropping a track with Future and Young Buck. Ghost in the Room produced it. It's gonna be fucking amazing. Like, I think the internet's gonna break. Honestly, like this is one of the biggest collabs ever. I know, and I know for like from what I've heard along the grapevine, he's had this collab with Young Buck in the works for a while, and I guess they were just waiting that their time for the right person to come along. And getting Future on is a fucking big look. Whether you like it or not, it's gonna be fucking huge. You can't deny it. Like it's gonna be absolutely massive. And for me, that's what Cursor is. He can claim he's the king, and he is the king in that sense. He's fucking running shit. Like no one in Australia is making collabs like that. That's fucking crazy. And I guarantee you, it's gonna get millions of fucking views. So yeah, that's just one example of why I think Cursor is a sick cunt. I think Cursor is a sick cunt because he said he was a sick cunt. And for anyone who ever doubted him, if you look at his fucking, his resume and everything he's done, you cannot deny that he's a fucking sick cunt. He is the sickest. Like Cursor has, like, he can say what he wants straight up. I met him in 2010, and I've watched him fucking build this empire. I'm lucky enough to be a part of it. He still lets me go on tour with them. Like last year they went on tour. He said you can do the whole tour if you want. You know what I mean? But which is I'm so grateful for, because he doesn't owe me shit really. At the end of the day, like we got to know each other through the battle scene, and I like always kind of pushed him to be successful in the battle scene, because he brought a lot along to it. You know what I mean? I remember in the early days of it, when we were all still paying for our own flights to go to events, Cursor was, he was a guy bringing along enough views and enough people to events to start getting paid. He was fucking killing it, and he never took no for an answer. He always knew it was about his business, and I watched him build, and I can't have nothing but respect for it. And like if I and the way that he went so hard, it fucking made me realized that I believed in myself, like just from seeing his success. I was like, wow, fucking, if Curse can kill it like that, I can at least fucking do something. And that gave me the guts to put out my album and really focus on getting shit done and stop being an unorganized prick my whole life, which I felt like I was, you know what I mean? But I finally got my album done. When I started rapping, I was 20. I was like, yeah, I'm working on an album. I didn't know shit about a fucking album. You know what I mean? When I was 25, that's when I could like start to put together a proper album. But that was because I don't know, maybe I just wasn't sure of myself when I was 20, and I didn't feel like I had the full experience in life to put out an album. Like, and maybe fucking if I just put it out and didn't worry about it, fucking I would have been further. But I didn't. I overthought that. I was a perfectionist probably too much, and where I prevented myself from moving further or really building or even growing. You know what I mean? Like if you smash it out, you learn from it. You know what I mean? Like it's better than sitting on something for ages perfecting it. I think you're better off smashing something out, learn from it, move on, smash something out. It's and Cursor taught me that, like watching how he smashed it out and he fucking pumped it out and he's built and built and built and built. And anything that some of his music I'm not the biggest fan of, but he's fucking come back and dropped some shit that I'm a massive fan of. And then at the end of the day, like regardless of anyone likes anyone's music, I'm about people. Like I've met some of my favorite musicians in the world, and they were cunts. There's nothing worse when you meet a fucking massive artist and they're just a cunt to you, and you're like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, over the years, I've learned to be about people, and Curse has been a sick cunt. Complete is one of the fucking dopest rappers in the country. Like, ever since he was 18, he fucking wait. Well, I met him when he was 18, but that dude was dope since he was a young teenager. He'd been through a lot of shit. I know he had a lot of issues with mental health when he was he was smoking weed a bit, and he went into the hospital for a while when he was young. But when he got out, is when he kind of around that time he pushed panic disorder, and um, he got he did a lot of for WA hip hop, like Bloodstained Nikes is a massive track. You go anywhere in Western Australia, and people know Bloodstained Nikes. We went to like some show in Northam, which is north of Perth. I think it's a bit over an hour drive, and it's like this red dirt little old school town. And we went there to this big like basketball hall where they were having a big conference with all the different schools in the area. And we get there, and all the kids knew complete through, Bloodstained Nikes. They knew me through battles, but like, that guy's music was all over the Western Australia when he was still quite young. And yeah, and since then he's done a few mixtapes, but like, you wait till this album drops complete, is going to change the game. I'm not gonna drop any spoilers because I'm not allowed to. But he's got some crazy collabs on there. He's got some artists that you've never seen on the same CD together, and yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna blow out. Sever is also, he's a fucking legend. He's a very busy man. He's a family man, and I know he works very hard to support his family. So um, he doesn't get as much time as some of us do for music, but whenever Sever gets a chance, he goes hard. Got a lot of stuff out there, and yeah, I got a lot of respect for that guy. He's a brother. He invited me to his wedding when I was last in Perth, and I went down to his wedding, and I felt truly like a part of, like a family. You know what I mean? Like the WA crew, they're absolute legends. Like I've got nothing but absolute respect for them. Some of my best friends, in the whole country that I've made through this hip hop scene are all part of that crew. Daisy is one of the most funniest human beings I've ever come across. The first time I met Daisy, I was like, oh, no, I met him when I battled Cortex, which was my first time I went to Perth. It was like an after party at Cortex's though, and he was freestyling, and something, something, something. I don't give a fuck, man. Don't know what to do next. There's a tongue stand, and like, and then put his tongue out and kind of like bent over like he was about to do a tongue stand instead of a handstand. He's just like the funniest cunt ever, and yeah. And then I just remember losing my shit. He kept freestyling, and I was just like jumping around, pacing up around the kind of like the flat that we're in, just losing my shit at his freestyles, and yeah, since then there's been many a early morning. Like I remember being at a party at Omac's house, and it was like, well, the sun was coming up, and we're all out the back, and Daisy was just sitting there at the top of I think it was like at the top of a spa bath thing, like not in the spa bath, but on like the surrounding bit, and he was sitting there just freestyling, just the most hilarious punchlines, and we were all surrounded, just laughing, just waiting for the next punchline. Like it just until it kept going, and yeah, if you get a chance, check out some of his music because he's a brilliant rapper as well. But when he freestyles, he's a fucking absolute weapon. Matt Brennan asked, who is your go for beats and do they have a SoundCloud? I've started making boom bap stuff but could use some Tassie inspiration. So I'm working with Da Vinci at the moment. If you Google Da Vinstrumentals SoundCloud, you should be able to find some of his beats. He's like one of my real good mates. Um, I've been working with him for a long time. He made beats for such a few of my tracks like Fat Cunts. I'm just trying to think of early tracks he made. Still, Killer Shark, all my really old shit. He made a lot of beats for Pissed Apostles, which was my crew with Rich OD and Stick Up MC. And there was like, I think there's still MySpace. I think fucking tracks on there. Vinci produced a lot of that. Da Vinci produced Salamanca Wankers, Captain Glenorchy, Underdown Underground. You know, he produced a lot of Dundee stuff. He's an absolute weapon of a producer, and he's really versatile. Like I've watched this guy over the years, sitting in his room, nodding back and forth, making beats. Like as we've grown up, and yeah, he's gone through like crazy, like really classic boom bap, clean like record sampling style hip hop beats, and then he goes crazy, like fucking dubbed out, like with synths and the like fucking ludicrous shit. Um, and yeah, he's producing my new album. Hit him up. He'll sell you some beats. He'll do them real cheap too. Like for his level of skill, you're gonna get a good bargain. So that's what I suggest if you need some Tassie inspiration. Well, word up, guys. As far as I see it for the moment, I reckon that's about it for this time, eh? Much love to everyone that's been listening. I appreciate you tuning in. Sorry if I haven't been too on point in this time. I'm still getting better. This is the third one that I've done solo. So yeah, I appreciate you all bearing with me if you're still listening at this point. Yeah, much love. I'm gonna get got a few people that I'm gonna get down on here. I'm gonna get Promise. Um, he's a rapper from originally he's from Ethiopia, but he's been in Tassie for since he was a kid, and he's got some crazy stories. I'm gonna bring him on here. I want to get Charlie Reid on here, which is Chopper Reid's kid. I've got some interesting stories that I want to be told. So much love, everyone, again, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.